And Donald Trump vow to improve relations between Russia and the US as they hold their first phone call since Trump won the presidential election. RT's Guy Chichikan now with some of the details of the conversation.
I would love to be a fly on the wall during that conversation. What we have is a readout of the phone call from the Russian president's press office. And the readout says Vladimir Putin once again congratulated Donald Trump with his victory in the presidential election, expressed Russia's willingness to be a partner to the United States based on mutual respect and quote-unquote non-interference in each other's internal affairs. Both agreed that these are difficult times for U.S.-Russia relations, and both expressed willingness to work toward normalizing the relations. Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin also agreed on the importance of joining forces to fight terrorism, which could lead to the U.S. and Russia forming a united front in Syria. Throughout the presidential race, the Washington establishment and much of the media blasted Donald Trump for saying that he would get along with the Russian president.
He has made common cause with dictators. He has basically endorsed Vladimir Putin. He praised Russia's strongman, Vladimir Putin. Donald's very praiseworthy of Vladimir Putin.
Hillary Clinton says, how dare he like Putin? How dare he? What are we doing, folks? What are we doing? And they say such bad things about Putin, and then they're supposed to negotiate with Putin? Why would he do this? If we got along with Russia, and Russia went out with us and knocked the hell out of ISIS, that's okay with me, folks.
Almost nobody expected Donald Trump to win the election, and everybody was bracing for a continuation or even worsening of very frosty relations between the U.S. and Russia under Hillary Clinton. With Donald Trump in office, it seems there is hope, specifically when it comes to U.S.-Russia relations. Although it is too early to tell, Donald Trump hasn't been sworn into office yet. We've yet to see whether the sanctions the U.S. imposed on Russia related to Ukraine will stay in place. Mr. Trump hasn't really weighed in on that yet. These past few years have done a lot of damage to U.S.-Russia relations, with both governments blaming each other for that.
Journalist and foreign policy strategist Michael Hughes thinks it won't be easy for Trump to improve relations, as he will face a hostile Congress.
As much as Hillary Clinton was horrible for Russian relations, Barack Obama was not very good for Russian relations, but that doesn't mean the Republicans are any good, en masse are any good for Russian relations. I think Donald Trump is this unique figure that defies both parties. So yeah, the GOP in Congress, I mean, let's face it, you haven't heard, Russian-friendly rhetoric out of them. If he takes an approach of removing sanctions from Russia or working with Russia very closely on helping Assad, for example, Republicans in the House and Senate, they could go on a smear campaign, and they can sway public support.
In the United States, Trump's victory has been met by mass demonstrations in the streets, with some branding him intolerant and warning he's a threat to constitutional freedoms. However, there's growing concern also over the manner of the protests.
So here's your ideal Democratic U.S. voter, ready and willing to stand up for the minority, for the equality, for basic human rights and values, among them to respect and tolerate other people's opinions which may differ from your own, like choosing Donald over Hillary, or maybe not in this case.
You voted Trump! You voted Trump! Oh, yeah, he voted Trump! Don't vote Trump! Don't vote Trump! Don't vote Trump!
And it doesn't just end there. You can get beaten up or your property can be damaged for wearing a Trump cap, posting a Trump tweet, or holding up a Trump poster. You guessed it, having an opinion these days can be bad for your health.
It went around yesterday, someone was in a protest holding up a sign saying that Donald Trump's wife should be raped. These are the people that are saying that Trump is a misogynist, that he hates women, and holding up such a hateful sign, I think it really is indication.
Another value in the book, the freedom of choice and the right to vote. So guys, what do you think about Trump fans?
Crazy. Absolutely crazy.
Uneducated.
Misguided.
Chaos.
To have democracy, you have to have an educated public.
In other words, if you don't think the way a liberal progressive Democrat does, you are a deplorable freak with no right to choose because apparently you're not educated enough.
These globalists
actually don't believe that ordinary people have the same rights as them. They don't actually see them as people. They see them as sheep to be led by their wonderful globalist agenda. And frankly, they're now on the wrong side of history. And we're seeing it not just in the US and in the UK, we're seeing it all over Europe. And frankly, these people need to get with the project.
And last but not least, you respect the United States electoral system, which has been functioning perfectly for the last 229 years, at least according to your democratic role models.
We have free and fair elections and a peaceful transfer of power. That is one of the great hallmarks of American democracy.
Our democracy depends on people knowing that their vote matters.
Free elections are the best way on earth to choose our leaders.
But when push comes to shove, or in other words, when the outcome of this machine is undesired by the status quo, all these democratic values become irrelevant.
We need to fight back against this fascist system.
Impeachment. We need to stay single for a while as a country. We don't need a president.
Not my president! Not my president! Not my president!
Ironically, the media also played a number of memes prior to the election that Trump may not accept the results of the vote and trigger another constitutional crisis. Well, now we're seeing who is protesting. People are saying silly things about, well, she won the popular vote, when they understand, or should understand, that America's complex and perhaps flawed electoral system chooses the president. It doesn't make a lot of sense.
The U.S. has nourished and exported democracy for so long that it's become a household brand. But now it seems this product no longer does what it says on the label. With even your average Democratic progressive liberal apparently ready to abandon principles and values that he supposedly stood up for throughout this election. I'm Miguel Francis Santiago.
Trump's rival Hillary Clinton was among the many blindsided by his victory. Backed by almost the entire mainstream media, Hillary Clinton appeared to think she had the presidency in her pocket. Ilya Petrenko and RT America host Ed Schultz now looking into, well, who could be blamed for the loss of the establishment's golden girl.
In the world of Hillary Clinton, it was decided long before November 8th who's going to get the White House after Barack Obama. And I tell you what, her world is huge. Did you see many or any pre-election polls that favored Donald Trump? Month after month, essentially all the media said was Hillary's winning. And even the day before the vote, the editors of Newsweek were still inhabiting Planet Clinton with this Madam President cover, which they had to recall when reality struck. Some 125,000 copies, no less. The creators of South Park were also living in Clinton land. Their pre-recorded post-election episode also had her win it. They had to rush and change it to this.
The world is in a bit of a shock. We're sure this is for real, right?
What have you done?
And then at the center of the Clinton verse was Hillary herself, who never, even for a moment, stopped to consider the possibility that non-Clinton worlds existed. They had everything ready for a huge party, including loaded fireworks machines. Last week, to the surprise of many, many people, we learned that Planet Clinton was just a myth. Let's ask RT America's Ed Schultz, who knows Hillary personally, if he thinks that Mrs. Clinton still believes it herself. Ed, hello. Thank you so much for joining us. So, who was it that created the world of Clinton? Was it her campaign chiefs? Was it maybe Bill or anyone else?
Well, I think that there was a lot of people that contributed to that. The world of Hillary is one of power and influence, and the world of Hillary is global. And there's a lot of factors that play into her success over the years, and it is amazing that she's not president of the United States with all the resources globally that they were able to put together. I find it's a bigger story that she's not president than it is Donald Trump being president, considering the world of Hillary.
Well, how did Clinton and co. have everyone so convinced? If you look at the entire media spectrum, I mean, it was obvious. You turn on the TV in America, you go online.
And the mainstream media in this country does not cover issues that rural America is concerned about. If you look at the map of the United States, you will see the metropolitan and the urban areas going to Hillary Clinton. You will see rural America going to Donald Trump. And the mainstream media is horribly disconnected. And for that matter, so is Hillary Clinton. She never went to Wisconsin. She didn't go to Michigan until late, and that was supposed to be her firewall. I mean, they were just a total miscalculation on how the media got it. I think that this is one for the archives, and it's one that may be duplicated in the future. There's no question that the mainstream media has got major egg on their face.
Well, I'd just like to play a very short clip from one of her campaign speeches. Please take a listen.
To just be grossly generalistic, you could put half of Trump supporters into what I call the basket of deplorables.
So everyone laughed at it in that room, but can you really laugh at statements like this? Maybe this kind of thing is to blame for it.
Well, that was a classic from the standpoint that she was talking to people in New York City. She was talking to high donor limousine liberals, is what we call them, that have no connection with rural America. What Hillary Clinton did was just offend a majority of people in this country who voted for Donald Trump. That was a total turnoff. And you can't make a comment like that and then turn around and say that you want to be president of deplorables. It's an interesting soundbite that you played. It was a turning point in the campaign. She's blaming the FBI director, Comey. I think that comment that you just played as much into her defeat as anything she did on the campaign trail. But notice how she has not blamed the Russians. She hasn't blamed the Russians because they never had 100% proof that the hacking was taking place or that her campaign was being targeted. She'll blame Comey, but she hasn't gone so far as to blame the Russians, which I think is very, very funny, because at the end of the day, there's two things people didn't care about in America. They didn't give a damn about Donald Trump's taxes, and they didn't care about what the Russians were thinking about this election. That's what Trump's win boils down to.